Okay. So when you begin investigation, when just as a general principle in the Christian County Commonwealth Attorney's Office, when does an investigation begin and end, in your opinion?
Well, I guess typically it begins when there's a report made or when something spurs the initiation of an investigation, whether it be a call to 911 or someone showing up at the police department or sheriff's office or whatever it is that brings it to the attention of law enforcement. As far as the actual investigation ending, I think that's up to, most of it is up to the officer and whether they're still following up on it or what actions are being taken at that time. As I stated in our in-chambers hearing, I wanted to clarify in this case that I felt like I didn't want to misstate anything by saying that that the investigation was over, because Mr. Long has not yet been convicted, and so even though we're not out actively, or the police are not out actively seeking new evidence, I believe that this case is still open because he's not yet been convicted of any crime.
Now, and in response to that, would you tell the court, please, if that being the case, in April of 2017, some 5 years after this event occurred, did Ed Stokes spend 4.5 hours with Mrs. Goslin and interviewing her about my client's participation in this alleged murder?
To be honest with you, Mr. Brown, I have not watched that interview. I'm not sure if it was Detective Stokes that conducted the interview or not, but I know that she was interviewed, yes.
Would you just accept my word that it was Detective Stokes?
I don't have any reason to doubt that.
Okay. And so this investigation continues for 5 years, is that correct?
It has been ongoing for that
And
long.
during that 5-year investigation, it's your testimony that you shared a special relationship with Detective Ed Stokes?
For a brief period, yes.
Okay.
And if I may clarify that, at that particular time, there wasn't any active investigation going on. There were court proceedings going on, but there was no active police investigation going on.
You objected to me obtaining the videotapes of that trial, did you not?
I did.
And
Well, not formally, but by email, yes.
Yes. And, of course, the court's going to rule on that today, but would you tell us why you objected to that?
I did, or I will, because it's my understanding that, number one, that the trial in that case, and you're referring to the Strader case,
Yes.
correct? That trial ended in acquittal of both defendants, and their charges have since been expunged. My understanding of the expungement laws is that when a case is expunged, that no record shall remain of any of the proceedings, the legal proceedings involving that case. We have received some pretty specific instruction about, how records are to be destroyed and things like that when someone has a case expunged. I did not want to cross any legal lines in divulging information that by law is supposed to be destroyed. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there is still some civil litigation pending with regard to the Straders. I'm not sure about that, but I did not want this issue to become an issue in any pending civil litigation involving them.
And so your testimony is that no records should be released when when the conviction has been expunged, yet you kept it on your website as late as July the 7th of this year, did you not?
I keep a website, personal, it's a representative of my office, about every trial that we've had, about every sentencing that we've had, and in fact, the record that's kept on the website with regard to that particular case, it's not really a record. It's just a summary of the trial and what the outcome was, and it clearly reflects that they were acquitted in that case.
And you put their mug shots up there on your website too, did you not?
Very possibly, I'm not sure.
Well, did you read the email that I sent with the attachment that showed the pictures of them on your website?
I read
with
the
their
email,
mugshots?
but I didn't look at the pictures.
You didn't look at the pictures?
No.
You don't deny it then, do you?
I'm not denying, no.
Yeah,
I'm just
okay.
saying that that's not an official record.
Okay. Would you tell us, please, was Detective Stokes married at the time you two were going together?
No, he was not.
All right. Did you all socialize locally or go out of town?
Mostly,
Is any of this really relevant?
Judge, I think it's relevant because it would show they knew they were doing something wrong if they hid from the public.
I'll let Mr. Pryor answer that question.
we were not hiding anything. We went out locally. As I said, we went to a friend's wedding. We went to a birthday party, a large birthday celebration for a friend of ours. We went to a funeral. We went to the lake with our children. I mean, we weren't hiding anything. I wasn't married. He wasn't married. We were doing nothing wrong.
Okay. And when did this relationship conclude?
The best of my knowledge, approximately September of 2013.
All right. And what is it you recall about September 2013?
That was just the last picture that I recall seeing. We went, in fact, the Night Rider tour that went through, they do it every year in Hopkinsville. We taken the kids on that. That was the last picture I
All
recall.
right. What memory do you have of when this relationship began?
I don't really have a specific memory of how it began. We've always been co-workers, not co-workers, but we've worked together on cases. So I've known him. I considered him a friend, just as I do many of the law enforcement officers I work with. As I stated, I know that we attended fireworks, and I don't know that there's a specific time when. I think you're making this relationship sound a lot more official and formal than it really was. There was, we spent some time together, and that's really about the extent of it.
Okay. And did you all exchange personal emails?
I don't recall any personal emails.
Did you exchange texts?
I'm sure we did.
What about photographs?
Possibly.
Did you all exchange Facebook messages?
I don't recall any Facebook messages.
Okay. Did you discuss criminal cases by telephone?
We discussed work when we were at work, but we made a very concerted effort not to talk about work when we weren't at work.
Commonwealth Attorney Pryor, in March of 2013, Mrs. Rourke, Mr. Malone, and I went to a field on Fidelio Road searching with some people. Do you recall being there?
I do.
Do you recall you were in the automobile with Detective Stokes?
I do.
Okay. Anybody else in that car with you?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
As I recall, it was really cold outside, and we sat in there just watching as the field was being searched.
At any time since you became intimate with Deputy Stokes, did you ever disclose that intimate relationship to opposing counsel in criminal cases you prosecuted where Stokes was a witness?
I don't recall there being one other than the Strader case and this particular case.
Now, a Strader case would just be a trial. Stokes doesn't just have one case a year, does he?
As of right now, his role at the Sheriff's Department is as an evidence technician, and to be quite honest, in Mr. Long's case, that's primarily what he did, even though he's been designated as the lead detective. His primary role in this case was collecting evidence. It wasn't as in-depth as I think a lot of detective instituted investigations are. But I don't recall, I honestly don't recall prosecuting other cases that, I haven't looked into that, so I don't know. I
Ms.
can't
Pryor,
answer.
the other day at the hearing, you testified that you were formerly married to a policeman, that you prosecuted cases that he was involved in, and you saw nothing wrong with it. Isn't that correct?
There was never anything alleged to have been wrong. I was married to a law enforcement officer when I was elected to be the Commonwealth's attorney, and it had never caused a problem before.
Okay. And so, in this particular case, did you ever tell me, prior to that hearing that I asked for in front of Judge Self, did you ever tell me or anybody on the defense team that you had an intimate relationship with Deputy Stokes?
Not that I recall.
Have you ever told any defense counsel in any case that you had a relationship with Stokes?
I don't recall having that conversation, but I don't recall it ever being an issue.